guys, it's Esther Andre here, attorney, High Court, and compliance is my thing. I wanted to name a few things about the RMCP that I think is not taken into account or is easily missed. So here goes. It's going to be a quick video, 1, 2, 3, just to name some things. So firstly, what is the RMCP? It's the Risk Management and Compliance Program, and it sets out all the procedures and specific escalation ways, the factors and considerations that you would take into account when you risk rate. Why are we risk rating? Because we want to figure out, are we on a low level, medium, or high level of money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing happening. So you don't actually have to prove that it's happening. You just need to have a suspicion that it may be happening. And you then send reports to the Financial Intelligence Center. There is a type of report that, irrespective of whether you think it is suspicious or not, you kind of got to just file that report. And that is the cash threshold report. That is automatic. If it is that a certain sum is deposited into the clean bank account of the accountable institution, and that amount is 49999.99. So, irrespective therefore of your suspicion, that would just have to be reported. In terms of knowing what exactly proliferation financing is. Proliferation financing is where financial services or funds are used or given specifically for the development, acquiring, transportation, whatever the case may be, of weapons of mass destruction. And weapons of mass destruction is no longer your bombs and your guns. It is now, it is now, my goodness, chemical, it is biological, it is nuclear, comes in many forms, shapes and sizes. In fact, I know that sound can even be used, frequency can be used. But in any event, we won't go into that. So in terms of why proliferation financing is there in the FIC Act, is because, of course, weapons of mass destruction is used in terrorism. And we therefore have to define in our RMCPs what are the products that could be used in terms of proliferation financing. And the key word is dual-use goods. So these are goods that can be used for the good or for the bad. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where it's not always used for the good. And this can be, for example, drones. It can be software, especially software. It can be, of course, the parts that go into making these weapons of mass destruction. But the fact of the matter is, you as an accountable institution and your staff members need to just at least be able to pick up that there might be business being done with an entity or a person who's busy dealing with dual-use goods. So if you want some examples of these, there are, for example, materials or chemicals, microorganisms like toxins. So this is like your chemical stuff. Even if you know nothing about it, just the fact that it's chemical, could be that it makes it dual-use goods. Electronics, especially telecommunications and information security, sensors and lasers, navigation equipment, avionics, I hope I'm saying that right, aerospace and propulsion. Yeah, these are words that we might not use every day, or we might not be used to these words, but essentially taking into account that these days weapons of mass destruction are can most certainly be obviously software and anything that can direct something else. Drones, all those things are based on certain software and so forth. So biological is quite an interesting one. It's a scary one. Of course, this is, where you've got biological warfare. I don't want to go too much into it because that is a very, very long discussion. And I have found that it is quite controversial in the sense that much of the world is beginning to maybe see how biological weapons can be used against us. But, if you're doing business with a company that, let's say they're making syringes, let's say that they are the type of company that makes medical equipment, and well, they've got scientists that are working on viruses and microorganisms. Gosh, I don't know much about these words, but so that would fall under dual use goods, and you mark it as such in your matrix so that you know that this is the nature of the business. That's what the business does. And you'll mark it as dual use goods so that it will have a bit of a higher risk. It doesn't mean it's reportable at all. Please remember, high risk does not mean that something is reportable. It just means it's high risk. Same with your domestic, politically exposed persons and their family members and known associates. If I'm the daughter of a minister, or the adopted daughter of a minister, or the wife of the son of the minister, I'm still just as high risk as the actual minister. Just want to let you guys know that's how they risk rate. So we need to remember that.